Hey everyone, it's Christina with My Confection Obsession, and today I'm going to be making a Game of Thrones dragon cake. So the reason I'm making this cake is because it's 2019, and what that means is the final season of Game of Thrones is starting soon. I'm super excited. My husband and I are huge fans, and so I knew I was going to make a cake to celebrate it. So to get started, you guys can see that I have a 4-layer 6-inch cake. It's already crumb coated and ready to go. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by putting some gray buttercream to kind of look like dragon scales. So before I do the detail on the side, I'm just gonna give a thin layer of gray on the top. So this was just white buttercream, and I put a tiny bit of black gel food coloring in to get the gray. There's gonna be a dragon that covers this, so I'm not super worried if it's not completely perfect. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna focus on the sides, making this look like dragon scales. And I've seen this technique before, and it's actually really easy. So for the sides, what I have is a Wilton 402, which is a large round tip. And I'm just gonna pipe this gray frosting in dots, and I'm gonna use a technique with my offset spatula to make it look like the texture of dragon. And I'm just gonna take a small offset spatula and press and pull. Press, pull. And then I'm gonna start another row of dots just behind, or like just where the other ones finish. And I'm just gonna continue this all the way around the cake. I'm gonna wanna clean my spatula in between each row of dots, just so it looks a little bit cleaner when we're spreading them out. So while my cake is chilling in the fridge, I'm gonna be working on the dragon that's gonna go on the top of the cake. And so I'm gonna be using some red fondant as my base. And as you guys know, I love my templates. And so what I did is I actually went online and I found just a silhouette. I'm gonna use this as my base. And then I'll show you how I fill in all of the really cool little dragon details. So one thing to note is if you're gonna use a template, you're gonna wanna make sure that it fits on top of the 6-inch cake. So I did make sure to place that on the cake before I actually decided on this template. So I'm gonna carefully just go around this with my X-Acto knife. The silhouette of the dragon, you're gonna see that I have another sketch of the dragon that I found online, and this is showing me really just like all of the details that make it look 3D. And what I'm gonna start to do is I'm actually gonna start just making little etches along the dragon here and like on his tail, and split its feet, and maybe add some more detail on the mouth so it looks a little bit more realistic. And I'm just gonna carefully do this using my X-Acto knife. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to carefully just try to follow these lines using some fondant tools just to put some indentations in the fondant. So I'm doing this freehand just as best as I can, and I'm going to be as careful as I can be, and we'll see how it turns out. So I'm just going to lightly press into the fondant. I don't want to tear it. Keep using my fondant tools to try to make all these like indentations of texture. So I'm just gonna lightly press in, try to give some texture. Next is I'm going to use just a little bit of powdered black food coloring, and I'm going to trace in all of those indentations that I made to give it a little bit more depth and start making it look more 3D. So I'm just brushing this in with a really fine tipped paintbrush. So what I want to do next is I want to use my airbrusher and give a light coating of black all over this. So I'm using my Cake Boss airbrusher, and I'm just going to add a little bit of black. So I'm using the low setting. I'm going to give this a light coating of black. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to focus in on some of those indentations and add another coating. And I do want to let my dragon dry a little bit before I put it on my cake. So I have my dragon topper that has dried now. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place it on the cake. And I think I'm actually going to have this standing up to give this cake a little bit more of a dynamic look. So I'm just sticking a cake pop stick behind this. So I have my top replaced, and what this cake needs is it needs some color. So I'm gonna add some fire using buttercream. So you guys can see that I just dyed some red, yellow, and orange buttercream that I'm gonna use to add some fire. I'm also going to add it around this top here to clean that up. I'm gonna start with my red, and I'm just going to add this going around. Add some going across. I'm not sure. And I'm just gonna layer some orange over this. And then a little bit of yellow. I'm gonna add some just kind of going all over.